Xiao Tian crossed the Douqi Continent and became a member of the Xiao family. Without a system, he thought he could only rely on foresight to strive. At this moment, he suddenly realized that after opening the door with his key, he had entered a world of martial arts. Let's see how he uses the opportunity of two worlds to achieve great dominance and give beautiful women a warm home. Keywords of the novel: Dou Po, my Keystone Martial Arts no pop-ups, Dou Po, my Keystone Martial Arts complete collection download, Dou Po, my Keystone Martial Arts latest chapter reading. Chapter 1, Xiao Tian. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Xiao Tian. Xiao Yan, Douqi Qi Sanduan. Level, low. After the middle-aged man next to the demon stone steel announced Xiao Yan's information, waves of mockery and regret immediately spread from the crowded square. TSK, this genius from our Xiao family has never improved since his cultivation dropped to the 3rd level of Dou Qi. This person, you must not be too arrogant, otherwise heaven will punish him. Hey, I thought my Xiao family could produce a powerful fighter for the emperor, but it seems that my hope has been shattered. Although Xiao Yan is no longer capable, cousin Xiao Tian and cousin Xiao Xun'er still have a chance to break through the battle against the emperor. Listening to the words of the crowd around him, Xiao Yan's heart felt as if he had been stabbed one by one. Xiao Yan gave a bitter smile, turned around lonely, and returned to the end of the crowd. Next, Xiao Tian. As the voice of the middle-aged man rang out again, a boy about 16 years old walked out of the crowd. As soon as the young man appeared, he immediately became the object of everyone's attention, especially the young girls who gazed at him with fiery eyes. I saw him wearing a white robe, with shiny black hair, sword eyebrows and starry eyes, a face like a crown of jade, and a handsome appearance, just like all the readers, perfect as if he shouldn't exist in the world. To describe it with a poem commonly used by later generations, it is, the stranger is like jade, the young master is unparalleled in the world. Actually, let alone others. Even Xiao Tian himself, upon seeing his face for the first time in this lifetime, was almost torn apart. Xiao Tian stepped forward, his right hand skillfully touching the pitch-black magic stone monument, and then closed his eyes. After he closed his eyes, a brilliant light gradually shone on the magic stone monument. Doja, 1 star. Looking at the 4 glittering characters on the magic stone monument, everyone present was shocked. Slightly deposited, and then began to suck in a large amount of cool air. The sound was like a gust of wind, almost warming up the entire continent of Douqi. Xiao Tian, Doja, 1 star. The tester swallowed his saliva and immediately shouted excitedly. On the high platform, Elder Xiao stroked his beard and praised, truly worthy of being the grandson of Elder Douqi Pavilion. At the age of only 16, he broke through to the realm of Doja. However, compared to the original Xiao Yan, it is still a bit inferior. The second elder shook his head and said. Upon hearing the words of the 2 elders, clan leader Xiao Zhan couldn't help but let out a sigh in his heart. His son had exceptional talent and broke through to become a fighter at the age of 11. As a result, Tian was jealous of his talents and unexpectedly fell to the 3rd level of Douqi Qi overnight. Every time he thought of his son's lonely figure, Xiao Zhan's heart twisted like a knife. The middle-aged tester respectfully said, "Young Master Xiao Tian, congratulations on becoming the 2nd person in the Xiao family for 100 years. Now you can go to the Douqi Pavilion to obtain the necessary skills." "Thank you." Xiao Tian nodded slightly. Then, amidst the fervent gaze of all the women and the jealous gaze of all the men, he arrived at a spot in the crowd. There, a girl dressed in a purple dress was standing elegantly. This young girl's temperament is cold and indifferent, like the first blooming of a green lotus. At a young age, she has already developed a refined temperament, which is hard to imagine. If she grows up in the future, she will be so beautiful. This young girl is known as the most beautiful woman in the Douqi Continent, Xun'er. Of course, she is still in the Xiao family and has not revealed her identity, so she is still called Xiao Xun'er. Brother Xiao Tian. Congratulations on becoming a fighter. Looking at Xiao Tian walking towards her, Xiao Xun'er's beautiful and pretty face suddenly revealed a delicate smile that was enough to make the surrounding women jealous. Thank you, Sister Xun'er, for your compliments. Xiao Tian walked forward and, amidst the heartbreaking voices of the men around him, reached out and rubbed Xiao Xun'er's small head, saying, "Now it's your turn to test. I think your strength will definitely shock them even more." Hee hee. Xiao Tian's affectionate behavior immediately made Xiao Xun'er's fair and pretty face show a hint of crimson. Next, Xiao Xun'er. As expected, the middle-aged tester called out Xiao Xun'er's name. Brother Xiao Tian, then I'll go up. Xiao Xun'er gave Xiao Tian a sweet smile, then took a slight step and walked towards the magic stone steel. Looking at Xiao Xun'er's figure, Xiao Tian couldn't help but feel a bit dazed. He only crossed to Douqi Continent when the original owner was 6 years old. At that time, Xiao Yan was exactly 4 years old and had just started practicing Douqi. 1 year later, Xiao Xun'er also came to the Xiao family. In order to prevent Xiao Yan from making serious mistakes, he spent a long period of time guarding tightly at night. As a result, Xiao Yan did not have the opportunity to sneak into Xun'er's room. Of course, despite having a conscience, he did not choose to replace it. However, on weekdays, he often plays with Xiao Xun'er. Although Xiao Xun'er is precocious, she is still a 4-year-old child and doesn't have much scheming. After spending a long time together, the two developed a mutual affection and became an enviable childhood sweetheart. It was precisely to prevent Xiao Yan that Xiao Tian, coupled with his frequent play and shopping with Xun'er, greatly reduced his cultivation time. It took him 10 years to break through to the level of a fighter. Hey! Xiao Tian sighed and exclaimed in his heart, "Heaven, earth, where are you in my system?" Unlike other cheaters, he has traveled through the past decade without any awakening system, deep blue, check-in, or golden fingers for seeking benefits and avoiding harm. He relied entirely on his own efforts, with a hint of resentment. If he really had a golden finger, he might have been fighting against the Emperor for a long time in these 10 years. Xiao Tian glanced at Xiao Yan, who was lonely in the crowd, and thought to himself, "It seems that we need to find a way to get the ring and the old medicine. Otherwise, if we wait for another year, it will be a 3-year agreement. The old medicine should wake up then. There's no way, who can make the current Xiao family not the Xiao family from its heyday? Nowadays, the most powerful fire attribute technique of the Xiao family is just the Huang level advanced technique. At this level of cultivation, Xiao Tian can only practice for a lifetime and cannot break through to the level of Emperor Dou. Although he has a good relationship with Gu Xun'er, he can obtain advanced martial arts from her. But how can those techniques be compared to the burning technique, which can be considered top-level techniques in the vast world? As a traveler who has watched the Great Lord, Xiao Tian knows that burning Ju actually comes from a vast world. And with this skill, you only need to constantly devour the different fires of heaven and earth to upgrade. In the vast world, there are also many heavenly and earthly fires. It can be said that this cultivation method is directly connected to the heavenly supreme, and naturally cannot be compared to the ordinary heavenly level cultivation methods of Douqi Continent. End of this chapter. Chapter 2, The Magic Key. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2, The Magic Key. Xiao Xun'er, Douqi Qi, 8th stage. Level, Advanced. When the middle-aged tester spoke again, the whole room fell silent again. Because at the age of only 13, Xiao Xun'er has reached the level of 8 Dan Dou Qi, and it is highly likely that she will reach the level of 1-star Dou at the age of 15. This kind of talent is even better than Xiao Tian, and only slightly worse than Xiao Yan in the beginning. Xiao Tian didn't feel much about this. You should know that behind Xiao Xun'er, there is the second most powerful ancient tribe among the 8 ancient tribes. Nowadays, Xiao Xun'er has not fully demonstrated her cultivation talent. In the original work, even Xiao Yan, a male pig foot, could not match her cultivation speed before Douqi. After the test, Xiao Tian and Xiao Xun'er left together in the complex gaze of a group of young girls. Xiao Tian was not in a hurry to get the ring in Xiao Yan's hand. Anyway, it was also the last relic left by Xiao Yan's mother to him, and Xiao Yan still had some attachment to this ring. He needs his clan members to stimulate Xiao Yan again, making him even more eager to become stronger again. Only in this way can he take the ring from the opponent's hand. Don't think he's despicable, he just did something that most people would do. This is like when you are reborn and know that your neighbor's land has buried a treasure worth millions of dollars, and that treasure is not buried by your neighbor. Would you go and dig out the treasure first? After having lunch with Xiao Xun'er, the two said goodbye to each other. Xiao Tian returned to his own courtyard, took out the key, and was about to open the door. Click it. When Xiao Tian opened the door, he found that it was not his residence behind the door, but a space emitting light. This space is empty, with nothing inside, only a light door at the end. Is this my golden finger? Xiao Tian took a step inside and curiously looked inside. Bang dang. He had just walked in when the entrance door closed the next moment. And, after being turned off, the light completely disappears. Stir fry. How should I get out? Xiao Tian reached out his hand but couldn't find the door at the entrance. Hey! With a gentle sigh, Xiao Tian looked at the distant door and walked over. What will happen after this door? A powerful inheritance? A mysterious world? Xiao Tian looked at the door in front of him, gritted his teeth, and pushed it open with his hand. At the entrance, there is a dense forest. Xiao Tian stepped out of the door, and then the exit door disappeared, replaced by a steep cliff. Take me to the edge of the cliff. Is there a mysterious powerhouse's cave here? With this thought in mind, Xiao Tian came to the edge of the cliff and looked down. I saw some protruding stones on the cliff, vaguely forming a path. Since you're here, let's go take a look. Immediately, Xiao Tian cautiously walked down with the help of these stones. After a short while, Xiao Tian discovered a hidden cave under several boulders. There really are caves. Xiao Tian exclaimed with joy in his heart. He leapt into the cave. Unlike the heat outside, this place is very cool and comfortable, making it an excellent place to escape the heat. Xiao Tian walked inside and found that the cave was not very large. There is nothing special inside except for a stone pond about 2 or 3 zhang long. This stone pond is filled with clear and bottomless water, and there is a slight chill floating on the water. The cave will be cold because of this pond water. Cliffs, caves, stone pools. This scene couldn't help but make Xiao Tian's pupils shrink. He suddenly remembered that the cave discovered by Lin Dong in Wudong Qian Kun was very similar to this one. Is this the cave? Xiao Tian lifted his head and looked towards the top of the cave. He carefully observed for a while and found that there was a flicker of gloss somewhere. Sure enough. Seeing this, Xiao Tian couldn't help but brighten his eyes. Then, he stomped his right foot on the ground and jumped up, his right hand clenched into a fist, and shot towards the top of the cave. Boom! In an instant, the gravel splattered. However, in the middle of the gravel, there is a grayish-white object that is only the size of 2 fingers. Xiao Tian reached out and took the object in his hand. This object is made of an unknown material, and when held in hand, it has a strange soft feeling, but it is neither stone nor jade nor wood. Upon closer observation, one can still vaguely see some obscure patterns scattered throughout the object, resembling runes one after another. Ha ha ha. Xiao Tian was overjoyed and said, I never expected that I would come to the world of martial arts and even obtain the stone talisman of Fu Zhu. As a visitor to Earth, he knows the power of this stone talisman. This is the strongest divine artifact refined by the guest Fu Zhu from the vast world. It can not only condense the energy of heaven and earth, deduce martial arts, serve as a storage space, but also hone spiritual power. However, the strongest function of this stone talisman is to balance the power between the 8 ancestral talismans, and with it, one can simultaneously control the 8 ancestral talismans. It can be said that obtaining the stone talisman means he has the opportunity to become the ancestor of martial arts. After receiving the stone talisman, Xiao Tian returned to the original path. As for the energy in this pool, he did not absorb it. Anyway, he took advantage of Lin Dong's luck and couldn't leave any soup behind. Returning to the cliff, Xiao Tian searched for it and found that there was no gate that had arrived. However, he found a key on the ground, which was the key he had previously used to open the door. Xiao Tian held the key and pondered inwardly, is it difficult? Is this the key that opened the passage between the two realms? But soon, he thought of another question, how should I go back? At this moment, Xiao Tian's gaze happened to fall on the key in his hand. Immediately, he activated his fighting spirit and injected it into the key. Buzz! In the next moment, this ordinary key will emit a brilliant light. At the same time, a strange wave emanated, causing the void in front of Xiao Tian to twist. Almost in an instant, a tightly closed door appeared there. Xiao Tian walked forward, inserted the key, and opened the door. Looking at the space inside, Xiao Tian took off the key and walked in at a pace. After he entered, the door suddenly disappeared. Xiao Tian walked to the other end of the space and opened the door at the end, only to find himself returning to the courtyard of the Xiao family's residence. Ha ha ha. Looking at the key in his hand, Xiao Tian was immediately overjoyed. Because this key allows him to freely travel between two realms and have the opportunity to become a great ruler. End of this chapter. Chapter 3, Trading with Xiao Yan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3, Trading with Xiao Yan. In Xiao Yan's room. Xiao Tian and Xiao Yan are sitting opposite each other. Xiao Yan looked at Xiao Tian with a puzzled expression and asked, Cousin Xiao Tian, I don't know what you want to tell me. Xiao Tian glanced at the other person and said, Cousin Xiao Yan, actually I wanted to make a deal with you. Transaction? What transaction? Xiao Yan has some doubts. Xiao Tianyu was shocked and said, I can restore your cultivation talent. What? As soon as these words were spoken, Xiao Yan's face suddenly changed dramatically. He stared fixedly at Xiao Tian and asked, Cousin Xiao Tian, can you really restore my talent? Of course you can. Xiao Tian nodded and said in a different tone, however, I can't help you for nothing. This is natural. Xiao Yan agreed and said, Cousin Xiao Tian, as long as you can help me restore my talent, I will have a retribution in the future. Xiao Tian chuckled lightly and said, but I want you to report now. Now, do you want me to repay you? Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan immediately widened his eyes. As a guest of Blue Star, he knows that some people have strange and quirky tendencies. Does Cousin Xiao Tian want me to? Thinking of this, Xiao Yan couldn't help but feel a chill. Although Xiao Tian in front of him looked very handsome, the thought of being beaten by someone made Xiao Yan's goosebumps all over his body. He quickly shook his head and said, Cousin Xiao Tian, why don't you make a different request? I only like women. Puff. Upon hearing Xiao Yan's words, Xiao Tian almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. He never expected that this guy would think of himself that way. Xiao Tian glared fiercely at Xiao Yan and said, What are you thinking? What I want to say is, I need the ring in your hand. Are you saying this ring? Xiao Yan raised his hand, this ring was the only relic left to him by his mother. After all, he was not a real teenager, but a person in his 30s, so he quickly thought of something. Xiao Yan asked, Cousin Xiao Tian, why do you want this ring? This ring is a ring that I don't have, so I need it. Xiao Tian said half truthfully and half falsely, as long as you give it to me, I will tell you how to restore your talent. Not yet. Xiao Yan carefully examined the ring. He has been wearing this ring for over a decade and has injected fighting spirit into it, but he has never noticed any difference. Xiao Tian asked again, "Cousin Xiao Yan, do you want to take the precepts or do you want talent?" Xiao Yan pondered for a moment before finally saying, "I want to restore my cultivation talent." This is what he has been longing for the most in the past 2 years. Since his morale plummeted, he has become a laughingstock in people's eyes, experiencing countless mockery every day. Now that he has the opportunity to restore his talent, he naturally chooses to restore it. As for that ring, although he was reluctant to part with it, it was secondary compared to restoring talent. His reluctance to part with the ring is not really due to the mother of this body. He has a soul from a previous life, and his family in this life is not as intimate as he imagined. His main reason for reluctance is still because this ring is a ring. Na Jie is a relatively advanced treasure, like the Xiao family, only the clan leader and a few elders are eligible to possess it. So, Xiao Yan took off the ring from his hand, placed it on the table, and said to Xiao Tian, "Cousin Xiao Tian, can you tell me now how to restore my cultivation talent?" Xiao Tian took the ring and said to Xiao Yan, "Find a bathtub and pour water into it." "Okay." Xiao Yan quickly brought his bathtub and added cold water inside. Now he is in a hurry to recover and doesn't have time to find hot water. Xiao Tian took out a small jade bottle from his arms, opened the cork, and dropped a drop of red liquid inside. As soon as the red liquid dripped in, it immediately dispersed into the water, causing a slight chill to rise on the surface of the water. Xiao Tian put away the jade bottle and said to Xiao Yan, "After you go in, just drop a few drops of blood into it." Xiao Yan took off his clothes and entered the bathtub wearing only one pair of pants. He put his finger into his mouth, bit hard, and as instructed by Xiao Tian, he dripped his own blood into it. Gulu gulu. When the blood dripped, the entire water surface immediately boiled, and bubbles with a faint blood color kept appearing. Subsequently, a faint red liquid, as if possessing intelligence, penetrated through Xiao Yan's pores. In an instant, a large amount of sweat and a little black impurity emerged from Xiao Yan's body. "It's so hot." Strangely, the water in this basin was emitting a chill, but Xiao Yan felt a burning sensation. Xiao Tian shouted loudly, "Xiao Yan, close your eyes and try practicing." Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan quickly closed his eyes and made strange hand prints in front of him. His chest undulated slightly, forming a perfect cycle with each breath. When Xiao Yan refined a layer of Dou Qi, he found that his Dou Qi had not disappeared, but had entered his body. "Ha ha ha! My talent has finally returned." Xiao Yan suddenly opened his eyes and burst out laughing with joy. Quickly, he remembered that there were other people in his room. Xiao Yan restrained his smile and said to Xiao Tian, "Cousin Xiao Tian, thank you very much." Xiao Tian waved his hand and said, "You don't need to thank me. We're just taking what we need from each other." As he spoke, he added, "Since you have recovered, then I will leave." After speaking, Xiao Tian opened the door and headed towards his own residence. Watching Xiao Tian leave, Xiao Yan suddenly frowned. He pondered inwardly, "Is it because of him that I am unable to cultivate my fighting spirit? But apart from 10 years ago, we don't have much contact on a daily basis, do we? But if not, how did he solve the difficult and complicated problems that even alchemists couldn't solve?" This question really leaves him puzzled. After a short while, Xiao Yan shook his head and said, "Forget it, let's first improve my cultivation. In this world where the strong are respected, everything without cultivation is nothing but stinky dog shit. Only when I have enough cultivation can I know the truth." Thinking this way, Xiao Yan closed his eyes and entered the cultivation state again. End of this chapter. Chapter 4, Trading with Pharmacists. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4, Trading with Pharmacists. Returning to his room, Xiao Tian locked the door. Then, he placed the ring on the table and took out a small jade bottle again, dropping a drop of red liquid on it. This red liquid is condensed from the absorption of heaven and earth energy by stone talismans. It not only helps people practice, but also has an effect on soul power. Lin Dong started soaking himself in pool water from a young age, which enabled him to have strong spiritual power and be able to focus quickly no matter what he does. When this red liquid dripped onto the quaint black ring, the ring immediately emitted a faint glow. Immediately afterwards, the red liquid began to disappear at a visible speed to the naked eye. Seeing the liquid disappear, Xiao Tian looked at the ring and said, "Xun'er has absorbed my precious liquid. Aren't you planning to come out and see it?" However, his words did not elicit any response from the ring. Xiao Tian frowned and spoke again, "Xun'er, you have also taken the benefits. If you don't come out again, be careful that I give this ring to the people in the Soul Palace. According to their desire for the soul body, I think it will sell for a good price." Buzz. Before his words could be finished, the quaint pitch-black ring immediately floated in mid-air. Immediately after, an illusory old figure suddenly appeared out of thin air, looking at Xiao Tian below, blowing his beard and glaring, "Dare you, kid? I've seen a Xun'er, kid." Xiao Tian arched his hand and bowed. Yao Lao looked at Xiao Tian with a surprised expression and said, "I didn't expect that in remote places like yours, there are still people who know the existence of the Soul Palace." "Who are you?" Xiao Tian said, "Xun'er, it was just a joke just now. In fact, I have a grudge against the Soul Palace." Yao Lao said with a slight disdain, "You're just a fighter. What kind of grudge can you have against the Soul Hall?" Xiao Tian retorted without answering, "Have you ever heard of the ancient Xiao tribe, Xun'er? Are you saying that among the ancient 8 tribes, the Xiao tribe has already been exterminated?" Yao Lao's face slightly changed, and his gaze fixed on Xiao Tian. He asked, "Are you saying that you are a member of the Xiao clan?" Xiao Tian nodded and said, "It's not just me, our entire Xiao family is a descendant of the Xiao clan, and the Soul Palace is a force supported by the Soul clan, so naturally we have a grudge against the Xiao clan." After a pause, he continued, "I am willing to provide the red liquid just now to the Xun'er, just hoping that the Xun'er can accept me as an apprentice." Yao Lao spoke lightly and said, "As a member of the Xiao clan, what can I, this terrible old man, teach you? My Xiao family has long been in decline. The best martial arts are intermediate-level martial arts in the Xian level, and the best fighting skills are only beginner-level martial arts in the Xian level, all of which have wind attributes." Xiao Tian said, "The best fire attribute martial arts in the clan nowadays are only advanced in the yellow rank. Even if you practice such martial arts for a lifetime, you cannot become a strong one." "You're absolutely right." After pondering for a moment, Yao Lao said, "All right, you can continue to supply me with red liquid, and I will give you a low-level fire attribute cultivation technique. Xun'er, as the saying goes, a drop of water's kindness should be repaid by a gushing spring. It's too stingy for you to just give me a low-level cultivation technique at the ground level, isn't it?" Xiao Tian rolled his eyes. What he wanted was the burning technique. Is the lower level of the earth level still considered low? Yao Lao said, "In your Gama Empire, only the Yunlan sect has this level of cultivation. In the lower levels of the Gama Empire, it's not considered low, but what about in Zhongzhou?" Xiao Tian shook his head and said, "The ancient 8 tribes all had heavenly-level martial arts." At this point, he couldn't help but look at Yao Lao and bewitch him, saying, "Xun'er, as long as you give me more advanced techniques, besides giving you red liquid, I will also give you a treasure medicine to restore your soul, and even find a way to revive you." Upon hearing this, Yao Lao remained silent for a moment. Then, he gave Xiao Tian a deep glance and said, "Remember what you said, I will teach you a more advanced martial art." As he spoke, a somewhat surreal black scroll appeared in the hands of the old medicine practitioner. At the moment when he saw the black scroll, Xiao Tian knelt down directly and respectfully said, "Master, please be worshipped by the disciple." After knocking his head 3 times, Xiao Tian pretended to be puzzled and asked, "Master, I don't know what level this cultivation is. Is it a heavenly level?" "It's just a low-level yellow rank," replied the old medicine expert. "What? Yellow level low level?" Xiao Tian angrily said, "Master, are you playing with me?" Ha ha ha. Seeing this situation, Yao Lao couldn't help but laugh out loud. The other person has always been very precocious, and he thinks it's good to play tricks on them. After laughing for a while, the old medicine practitioner began to explain, "Don't underestimate this skill. Although it is only at the lower level of the yellow level now, it can evolve. As long as it continues to evolve, even if it surpasses the heavenly level in the future, it is not impossible." At this point, he asked again, "What, do you still want to learn? If you don't learn, then I'll give you the low-level version of that land level." To learn, of course to learn. Without any hesitation, Xiao Tian grabbed the black scroll in his hand. When he touched the black scroll, it immediately turned into a stream of information, which was directly infused into Xiao Tian's mind. In the Douqi Continent, only after breaking through the Douqi and condensing the Douqi cyclone, can people have the qualification to practice martial arts. And when the cultivation of the technique is successful, the originally attribute-free milky white fighting chi in the body will be transformed into the fighting chi of the successful technique attribute. The first conversion of Douqi didn't take too much time. Xiao Tian only took 2 hours to complete the conversion. Yao Laohan smiled and asked, "How did it go? Did it succeed?" "Well, it's successful." Xiao Tian nodded and extended his fair palm. Immediately after, his body had transformed into a light yellow cyclone, and a light yellow fighting spirit quickly emerged, then stayed in the acupoint of his palm. Now he is just a star fighter and cannot show his fighting spirit. So, that faint yellow fighting spirit did not break through the blockage of the acupoints. Even so, a faint yellow light could still be seen on Xiao Tian's fair palm. Light yellow, this is the symbol color of the yellow level low-level fire attribute cultivation method. Looking at the fighting spirit in his hand, Xiao Tian felt ecstatic and said, "I finally have the burning technique. In the future, my name will surely spread throughout the world." End of this chapter. Chapter 5, The 8 Extremes Collapse. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5, The 8 Extremes Collapse. Since you have become my disciple, I will teach you well. As Yao Lao spoke, he lifted his illusory arm and lightly tapped Xiao Tian's forehead, saying, "Close your eyes and sync your mind. I'll teach you." Xiao Tian felt a slight pain in his head, and immediately a large amount of information surged into his mind, causing his head to slightly swell. 8 Extremes Collapse, a high-level melee attack combat skill of the Xian level, known for its powerful attack power, refined to perfection. The attack contains 8 layers of powerful energy, stacked in 8 layers, with power comparable to the low-level combat skills of the Earth level. After slowly awakening his mind and carefully examining the information in the information, Xiao Tian couldn't help but feel emotional. Unexpectedly, he obtained the novice village fighting skill of Dou Po, the 8 Extremes Collapse. At this moment, Yao Lao introduced to me, "I remember this martial arts book was written by someone crying and begging me to accept it. If it weren't for his annoyance, I wouldn't have accepted this martial arts book. However, even so, this fighting skill is far stronger than the strongest fighting skills that your Xiao family currently possesses." As he spoke, he also glanced at Xiao Tian. Yao Lao originally thought that Xiao Tian would be shocked first, and then he would be completely impressed by himself. As a result, Xiao Tian was dissatisfied and said, "Master, after playing for a while, you gave me a Xian-level fighting skill. I thought you had to at least give me a ground-level fighting skill. What kind of cultivation do you have now?" Yao Lao rolled his eyes and said, "With your current strength, even if you were given the Earth-level fighting technique, you wouldn't be able to use it. Besides, you can't chew too much. You'd better master this fighting technique first." "Yes. Xiao Tian nodded, with a red liquid present, and he was not afraid that the other party would leave him. Alright, it's getting late too. Get up early tomorrow to practice. After Yao Lao finished speaking, his figure flashed and turned into a faint light, disappearing into the black ring. Xiao Tian went out for dinner and then came back to lie in bed. As he closed his eyes and fell asleep, strands of moonlight poured in from the window, illuminating Xiao Tian's body. These moonlight rippled like water waves, all condensed into the stone talisman on Xiao Tian's body. Immediately afterwards, Xiao Tian discovered that he had come into a pitch-black space. This place is quiet, cold, without any light. He knows that this is the space of stone talismans, as he has seen the martial arts movement of heaven and earth. As expected, with a faint sound, a cluster of light and shadow immediately appeared in front of him. What makes people strange is that the light and shadow is exactly the same as Xiao Tian, but it is not alive, but it is full of numbness like a sculpture. Xiao Tian knew that this was the activation of the derivation ability of the stone talisman. Who? Suddenly, the light and shadow began to move. As his figure flickered, he unleashed a set of punches. This boxing technique is exactly the 8 extremes collapse. The most important thing is that the 8 extremes collapse unleashed by light and shadow is even more perfect than what the medicine elder taught him. If it used to be just 8 levels of energy, then now it has become 9 levels. Even with the continuous application of light and shadow, a 10th layer is still forming faintly. However, before reaching the 10th level, the light and shadow immediately dimmed and stopped continuing to propagate. It seems that this is not enough energy. Xiao Tian thought to himself, anyway, let's first learn the 8 extremities collapse of the 9 heavenly qi. As for the 10th level, I'm afraid I'll have to cultivate my internal fighting energy again before I can continue to propagate it. I don't know if this 8 extremities collapse of the 10 heavenly qi can match the true low-level fighting skills of the earth level. Shaking his head, Xiao Tian began to follow the light and shadow, practicing the 8 extremities collapse of the 9 heavens. I don't know how long it took, but Xiao Tian finally stopped. Nowadays, he has thoroughly studied under the guidance of light and shadow. Of course, this is just that he has memorized the move, but if he really wants to use it, he still needs to practice it himself. That's all for today. Xiao Tian's mind moved and then disappeared into the stone talisman space. Shwa! At the moment of Xiao Tian's return, he suddenly opened his eyes on the bed. What just entered space was actually just his soul power. Xiao Tian straightened up, sat cross-legged on the bed, and began to enter a state of cultivation with his hands knotting the seal formula. The next day, Xiao Tian finished his practice early and then left his courtyard, heading towards the location of the back mountain. After arriving at the back mountain, the figure of Yao Lao emerged. He said to Xiao Tian, although the 8 extremities collapse does not require high fighting spirit, it has great requirements for physical strength. With your current physical strength, you may only be able to exert 1 layer of dark energy. If all 8 levels of energy are unleashed, even if you haven't harmed your enemies yet, your arms will be broken by the energy first. So, if you want to fully unleash it, then you need external stimuli. Master, come on. Xiao Tian said in a deep voice. Okay. With a grip of Yao Lao's right hand, an invisible long whip appeared in his hand, condensing the power of his soul. Pop! As Yao Lao waved his palm, the long whip immediately hit Xiao Tian's body. Yao Lao controlled his strength, which was within Xiao Tian's tolerance. But even so, Xiao Tian still felt a severe pain. Pop! Another whip fell, and Xiao Tian felt his body numb. Just like this, 50 lashes kept falling, and Yao Lao finally stopped. He said to Xiao Tian, alright, that's all for today's training. You go prepare 3 complete purple-leafed orchids, the older the better, and 2 bone-washing flowers. This year is optional. In addition, add a first-order magic core of the wood series, and I will prepare a set of foundation-building liquid for you. Otherwise, the blood stasis left in your body will cause you serious injury. Master, are you still an alchemist? Xiao Tian asked in surprise. Yao Lao smiled and said, I have more abilities as a teacher. Xiao Tian asked again, do you dare to ask Master for his surname and name? My surname is Yao, replied the old medicine expert. Surname medicine. Xiao Tian was surprised, and said, I heard that the medicine lord of the Zhongzhou Star Meteorist Pavilion was a high-level alchemist who mysteriously disappeared a few decades ago. Is it difficult? Master, are you the medicine master? I didn't expect you to even know this. Yao Lao sighed and said, that's right, I am the medicine lord. Xiao Tian asked, Master, do you think I have a talent for alchemy? Yao Lao looked at it and said, I didn't expect you really meet the requirements of an alchemist. How about this? If you find a way to buy a medicine cauldron, I'll teach you how to refine medicine. How about that? Okay. Xiao Tian nodded and thought to himself, it seems we can only go find our future wife Xun'er. He doesn't feel embarrassed about borrowing money from girls, anyway, he will always be a family from now on, so it's okay to use the other person's money temporarily. In the future, he will give Xun'er billions, even billions, every day. End of this chapter. Chapter 6, Borrowing Money from Xun'er. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6, Borrowing Money from Xun'er. As the old saying goes, whenever you talk about Chow Chow, you'll be there. Just as Xiao Tian was descending the mountain and planning to borrow money from Xiao Xun'er. On the winding mountain road below, a purple shadow appeared. Xiao Tian, who was familiar with the other party, recognized at a glance that this beautiful figure was actually Xiao Xun'er. Xiao Tian walked quickly and came closer. Looking at the elegant young girl in a purple dress standing in front of him, Xiao Tian couldn't help but smile and say, Xun'er, why did you come? Xiao Xun'er's cute dimples appeared on her pretty face, and she smiled lightly as she replied, Xun'er guessed that Xiao Tian didn't go to dinner this morning and couldn't find him in your room, so she guessed that Xiao Tian would be here. Xun'er still cares about me as always. Xiao Tian reached out his hand and pinched his delicate face in the astonished gaze of the other party. For Xiao Tian's behavior, Xiao Xun'er did not dodge, just enjoying himself and letting him hold it. Soon, Xiao Tian reluctantly put down his hand. Now there is a bad old man observing in the dark. He doesn't want his woman to be exposed like Xiao Yan by this bad old man. Cough. Xiao Tiangan coughed and asked, Xun'er, I don't know how much money you have. Can you lend me some? Does brother Xiao Tian really need money? Xun'er blinked her starry eyes and smiled coquettishly, I still have over 1,000 gold coins here. I wonder if it's enough. Not enough. Xiao Tian shook his head and said, I need at least a few 100,000. I don't know why brother Xiao Tian needs so much money. Xiao Xun'er asked. Xiao Tian replied, I plan to buy some medicinal herbs and learn how to refine them. Learn to refine medicine. Xiao Xun'er blinked her eyelids and asked, Brother Xiao Tian, do you want to become an alchemist? However, to become an alchemist, not only do you need extremely strict conditions, but you also need to be taught by a good teacher. I have found a teacher. Xiao Tian smiled and said, Sister Xun'er, please help me luck. I will personally refine pills for you when the time comes. Hee, then don't make Xun'er wait too long. Xiao Xun'er smiled slightly, and with a flick of her finger, a purple gold card appeared directly between her slender fingers, shimmering with 5 colored ripples. She handed the 5-striped purple gold card to Xiao Tian and asked, There are 500,000 gold coins on this card, don't you know if it's enough? Enough. Xiao Tian took the 5-striped purple gold card and sighed inwardly, it's still fragrant with soft rice. Having such a rich and beautiful girlfriend is really refreshing. After bidding farewell to Xiao Xun'er, Xiao Tian headed straight for Wutan City. However, he did not go to the local market, but chose the auction house. In the Gama Empire, whenever people mention an auction house, they immediately think of the Mitel auction house. And the reason for this is naturally because in every city of the Gama Empire, there are Mitel auction houses. Behind the Mitel auction house is the wealthiest family in the entire Gamal Empire, the Mitel family. This family has a long history and has been developing in the Gama Empire for hundreds of years. The relationships are complex, and there are also many powerful individuals within it. The current elder of the Mitre family is the mighty king, one of the top 10 powerful warriors of the Gama Empire, Mitre Hill. That's right, even though the profits of the middle auction house are coveted, no one dares to have their ideas. As soon as he arrived at the center of Wutan City, Xiao Tian immediately saw the magnificent and grand venue. Here is the Mitel auction house. Under the vigilant gaze of the fully armed guards at the door, Xiao Tian walked in without stopping. As soon as he entered, the original sense of heat was instantly stripped away, and the sudden cool feeling made Xiao Tian feel an indescribable comfort. His gaze swept through the magnificent and spacious hall, but Xiao Tian did not see the figure of concubine, which made him somewhat disappointed. After all, he really doesn't mind what happens to this beauty. At this moment, a waiter walked up and bowed, asking, "Master Xiao Tian, I wonder why you are here at the Mitel auction hall. What are you doing?" The Mitel family is based on business and naturally needs to meet people from various cities. So, Xiao Tian is not surprised that this waiter can recognize him. Xiao Tian chuckled lightly and said, "It's like this. I plan to purchase a batch of medicinal herbs and also buy a medicinal cauldron. There will be a transaction value of several 100,000 yuan, right?" Hiss. As soon as these words were spoken, the waiter was taken aback. But soon, the waiter showed a skeptical expression. Because in the city of Yutan, even if the entire Xiao family wants to come up with hundreds of thousands of gold coins, it is not an easy task. Upon seeing this, Xiao Tian took out a 5-striped purple gold card from his pocket and handed it to the other party. 5-striped purple gold card. At the moment of seeing this card, the waiter believed Xiao Tian's words. Because this is a card that must possess fighting spirit strength to possess. When did the Xiao family get so close to the Douqi powerhouse? With such doubts in mind, the waiter smiled and invited, "Young Master Xiao Tian, please come to your side." He led Xiao Tian into the VIP room, where there were maids serving tea and water. "Xiao Tian, please wait a moment, I will go find the person in charge." The waiter said and left. Not long after, there were faint footsteps coming from outside the door. As a graceful figure pushed the door in, there was also a delicate and tender laughter that was enough to make one's bones tingle. Suddenly, it rang out. "Xiao Tian, welcome to the Mitel auction hall." This delicate voice immediately made Xiao Tian's heart tremble. Xiao Tian followed the sound and saw a beautiful woman wearing a red long dress and a graceful figure walking towards him. The woman had picturesque eyebrows and eyes, with a slight shift in her lotus steps and a charming smile on her pretty face. Her narrow and long eyes were full of water, as if constantly releasing temptation. The slender and elegant jade neck, with a heart-stopping and curvaceous fullness, had a small waist like a water snake, and slender and shiny long legs, combined together to charm Tiancheng, making Xiao Tian's heart skip a beat. In the auction house, the only one who can charm people like this is Princess Matelia. It has to be said that Princess Yafei's beauty is only slightly inferior to that of Xiao Xun'er, but she can also be called the most beautiful. However, unlike Xiao Xun'er's elegant and lotus-like temperament, Lady Yafei exudes a mature and charming alluring charm. For men, this mature charm is far more alluring than that of immature girls like Xun'er. As soon as Princess Yafei approached, a strange fragrance like orchid and musk filled the air, refreshing the heart and soul. It is worthy of being an important supporting role in the early stage, and it is indeed a top grade. Under Xiao Tian's light sniff, his mind couldn't help but tremble slightly. End of this chapter. Chapter 7, Empress, you shocked. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 7, Empress. You shocked. Xiao Tian, young master. Ye Fei sat down next to her and asked with a smile, I don't know what medicinal herbs you need. Upon hearing this, Xiao Tian suddenly regained his senses. He took out a list and casually handed it to Princess Ye Fei, saying, Here are the medicinal herbs I need. In addition, I also need a better medicine cauldron. Medicine cauldron? Ye Fei's jade hands lightly covered her red lips, as if she had casually asked, Young Master Xiao Tian, I wonder when your Xiao family has an alchemist. What's going on? Xiao Tian raised his eyebrows and asked in reverse, I have an alchemist in the Xiao family, and I still need to report to your Mitel auction house. That's not true. Ye Fei gently shook her head and picked up the list, saying, We can provide all these medicinal herbs, but we don't have that medicine cauldron. We need to mix it from another city. Xiao Tian's gaze swept over the snow-white feet hidden in his red skirt, and he swallowed his saliva and said, Okay, prepare all these medicinal herbs for me. Also, prepare a low-level medicine ring for me. As for the medicine tripod, please hurry up. As he spoke, he handed over the 5-striped purple gold card and said, There are 500,000 gold coins inside. Princess Ye Fei took the purple gold card and casually summoned the maid, giving her some instructions. Immediately, the maid left with the 5-striped purple gold card. Ye Fei's eyes flickered and her voice softened, saying, Young Master Xiao Tian needs a lot of things. We need to wait for them to be ready. As she spoke, Princess Ye Fei took out a personal crystal card with the emblem of the Mitel family, Master Xiao Tian. This is the VIP card of the Mitel auction house. Holding this card can enjoy VIP treatment at any Mitel auction house, and the amount of money required for auction will also be reduced to 2%. Xiao Tian took the card with body temperature and a fragrant aroma, smiled, and said, Thank you very much, Miss Ye Fei. So, the two chatted for a while before the maid walked in carrying a silver tray. Princess Ye Fei stood up, personally took the tray, and then placed it on the table. Young Master Xiao Tian, all the medicinal herbs you need have been included in the ring. Xiao Tian nodded slightly and then took away the Na ring and purple gold card from the tray. Then he stood up and smiled, Since I have received the item, I won't continue to disturb Miss Ye Fei. After speaking, Xiao Tian walked towards the outside. Xiao Tian, young master. Ye Fei quickly followed the other party and said, After refining the pill, you can put it on consignment at our auction house. I will definitely maximize your profit. Don't worry, I won't forget Miss Ye Fei, Xiao Tian nodded. Princess Ye Fei kept escorting Xiao Tian to the entrance of the auction house before saying, Take your time, young master Xiao Tian, come often when you have time. Listening to Ye Fei's somewhat ambiguous words, Xiao Tian wished he could stay that night. Wait, little fairy, I will definitely take you in the future. Returning to the Xiao family, Xiao Tian first prepared a basin of water before summoning the medicine elder. After Yao Lao appeared, he spread out his illusory palm and fell silent for a moment. Suddenly, a dense white flame appeared. As soon as the flame appeared, the temperature in the room immediately rose a lot. Xiao Tian looked at the forest white flame and said, Master, is this the 11th ranked bone spirit cold fire? I didn't expect you to even see this. Yao Lao looked at Xiao Tian with some surprise. He was planning to pretend to be a match, but the other party didn't give him this opportunity. Xiao Tian rolled his eyes and said, I can even guess your identity. It's not normal to know that bone spirit cold fire is not normal. That's also true. Yao Lao shook his head and took out a batch of medicinal herbs from Xiao Tian's ring, then began to extract them. Purple-leaved orchid, bone-washing flower, first order would attribute Warcraft crystal core. In a short while, the medicine elder refined a batch of foundation-building spiritual liquid. That's right, it's just a batch. In the original work, Xiao Yan only borrowed over 1,000 gold coins from Xun'er, and that money was used to purchase a pair of medicinal herbs. But Xiao Tian borrowed several 100,000 yuan directly, which can be used to purchase a batch. After refining, the old medicine man poured all these foundation-building spirits into a small jade bottle. The foundation-building spirit liquid has been refined for you. Yao Lao threw the jade bottle to Xiao Tian and said, from now on, after getting beaten every day, soak it in the foundation-building spirit liquid. This way, your body will become stronger and there will be no after-effects. Thank you very much, Master. Xiao Tian took the jade bottle and clasped his fists in a bow. Then, he went to the water basin and opened the bottle cap to drop a drop of the foundation-building spirit liquid into it. In an instant, the clear water in that basin turned into blue. Puff! Xiao Tian took off his clothes and jumped into the basin to take a bath. In the following week, Xiao Tian repeated being beaten, bathing, practicing the 8 extremes collapse, and cultivating his fighting spirit every day. Now, with the power of the stone talisman, he has pushed the collapse of the 8 extremes to the extreme. Nowadays, the 8 extremes collapse can unleash a total of 12 layers of powerful energy, and after stacking, its power has reached the earth level. That is to say, the person who created this fighting skill had a low vision, resulting in the upper limit of this fighting skill being too low. Otherwise, the stone talisman could even push it to the heavenly level. After taking a bath, Xiao Tian put on his clothes and walked out the door. He wants to go and see if the medicine cauldron is available. There was a scene where Princess Yafei personally escorted him out last time, and this time the guards at the Maitel auction house bowed slightly when they saw him. When he entered the auction house, the waiters were even more respectful. Xiao Tian, you have finally arrived. As soon as Princess Yafei entered the VIP room, she complained, we only transferred that medicine cauldron in a day, but since you haven't come for so long, I thought you stood me up. I've been delayed lately. Xiao Tian said, waving his big hand, and immediately 10 more jade small bottles appeared on the table. Yafei looked at the jade vase with beautiful eyes and guessed, young Master Xiao Tian, is this? All of this is second-grade foundation-building spiritual liquid, which can increase the cultivation speed of Dou Qi without causing damage to meridians, Xiao Tian explained. Last time, Yao Lao refined more than 20 portions of foundation-building spirit liquid at once. Anyway, he can't use them all for now, so he can sell them to repay the money. Anyway, there is a ready labor force like Yao Lao, and if there is no more, let the other party refine it. Yao Lao, are you polite? Hiss. Upon hearing Xiao Tian's words, concubine Yafei's face immediately moved. Her sexy and rosy mouth couldn't help but take a cold breath, and her chest trembled slightly, gently creating a thrilling curve. She never expected that the other party would have such a big hand. After all, this is a full 10 bottles of second-grade pills. Taking a deep breath, Princess Yafei said to the stunned maid, Snow Pear, go find Master Gunny. Yes. The maid regained her senses and hurried towards the outside. End of this chapter. Chapter 8, Refining Medicine. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Refining Medicine. Soon, an old man with grey hair and wearing an alchemist's robe followed the maid in. Master Xiao Tian, this is Master Guanai, the second-grade alchemist at our auction house, introduced Princess Yafei. She said to Guanai, Uncle Guanai, could you please identify these foundation-building spirits? Yes, miss. Guanai nodded slightly and then picked up a jade bottle from the table. He opened the cork of the bottle, sniffed the medicinal fragrance lightly, and then poured the foundation-building spirit into his hand, piercing it with a silver needle. After a moment, he couldn't help but show a moved expression on his face. Because he found that the person who refined this foundational spiritual liquid was much more skilled than his alchemy. Guanai put the foundation-building spirit liquid back into the jade bottle and tested the other 9 bottles, then said with full respect, these 10 bottles of spirit liquid are all second grade. Upon hearing Gu Ni's words, Lady Yafei's eyebrows were frivolous, and her charming eyes swept over Xiao Tian's body. Her smiling face was filled with alluring charm, saying, "Young Master Xiao Tian, I didn't expect you to bring me such a large amount of business in these few days." Xiao Tian smiled slightly and said, "Sister Yafei asked me to take care of the business before. How can I not comply? I don't know if Xiao Tian's younger brother intends to sell it to our auction house or use it for auction." Yafei smiled and changed her name. "If you plan to auction, Sister suggests waiting for a day or two for us to promote and maximize profits. Let's auction it off." Xiao Tian said, "Give me the medicine cauldron first, and then give me some medicinal herbs and a low-level ring. As for the money, when these spiritual liquids are auctioned off, deduct it directly from them. If it's not enough, I'll make up for it." As he spoke, Xiao Tian took out another list and handed it to concubine Ya. "Good." Princess Yafei took the list and gave instructions to the maid next to her. After the maid left, concubine Ya probed and said, "Brother Xiao Tian, are you planning to learn how to refine medicine when you buy this medicine cauldron?" "Exactly." Xiao Tian did not conceal this. After all, the better one is, the more helpful it is for him to win over the other party. I didn't expect that Xiao Tian's younger brother not only has a natural talent for fighting spirit, but also has a talent for refining medicine. Yafei's beautiful eyes sparkled with envy as she spoke. Although she comes from the Douwang family, her cultivation talent is not good. If it weren't for that, she wouldn't have avoided this remote city of Yuten. Actually, my talent is just average. Xiao Tian answered. Indeed, at the age of 16, a single-star fighter's talent is not even comparable to that of Xiao Huohua. Princess Yafei said, "Xiao Tian's younger brother is too humble. Your talent can be considered top-notch in the entire Gamma Empire. You should know that the first emperor she knew, Nalin Yanran, had only an 8-dan fighting aura when she was 12 years old. If it weren't for their family buying a 4th-grade pill called Douqi San and relying solely on their own breakthrough, it would probably take them to reach the age of 14 or 15 to reach the level of 1-star fighter." Xiao Tian didn't say much about this. After all, Yafei's vision was only within the territory of the Gamma Empire, and he aimed at the entire Douqi Continent, and even the vast world. Fortunately, with his golden fingers now, he is not afraid of not being able to keep up with others. Soon, the maid walked in carrying a jade plate. Princess Yafei took the jade plate, bent slightly, placed it on the table, and smiled, saying, "Brother Xiao Tian, the medicine cauldron, medicinal herbs, and the ring are all ready." "Ah, good, good." Xiao Tian lightly sniffed the fragrant scent that came rushing towards him, but his gaze was deeply immersed in the abyss and ravines. Feeling Xiao Tian's fiery gaze, Princess Yafei's red lips couldn't help but bend a beautiful curve. She liked to see others prostrate themselves under her pomegranate skirt. Cough. Xiao Tian swallowed his saliva and let out a dry cough, saying, "It's getting late too. I should go back now." After speaking, Xiao Tian quickly left. This fairy is really charming. He is afraid that he will show his ugly appearance if he stays any longer. Looking at Xiao Tian's hurried departure, Gu Ni beside him couldn't help but say, "Miss, I think young Master Xiao Tian is very good. Not only is he talented, but there is also a 3rd-grade alchemist behind him. If you can marry him, you will have some say in the Meitel family in the future." "Got it, Uncle Gunny, I'll consider it carefully." After returning to the Xiao family, Xiao Tian headed straight for the cave in the back mountain. He plans to start learning the art of refining medicine. As the most prestigious profession in Douqi Continent, he naturally wants to become one of them. Xiao Tian infused his fighting spirit into a red ring. Whoosh! I saw a flash of light, and immediately a half-meter-high red medicine cauldron appeared in the cave. 2 medicinal cauldrons are perfect for beginners like you. Yao Lao didn't know when he came to the outside world. He sat cross-legged in the void and commanded, "You place one hand at the mouth of the fire, use your internal fighting energy to enter it, and use the medicine cauldron to transform the flames. Okay. Xiao Tian nodded and came to the medicine cauldron. He reached out his hand and placed it at the mouth of the fire. Amidst a surge of fighting spirit in his body, a pale yellow flame unexpectedly appeared inside the medicine cauldron. Not bad. Yao Lao nodded slightly and said, it can transform into flames the first time. After a pause, he said again, however, the current flames are too fierce and not suitable for refining medicine. You need to control the wood attribute in your body and infuse it into the medicine cauldron. Xiao Tian closed his eyes and began to use his soul perception to search for the wood attribute. In no time, he found it, which made Yao Lao couldn't help but praise it. As the wood attribute entered the medicine cauldron, the flames inside immediately quieted down. At this moment, the old doctor finally passed on some low-level prescriptions to Xiao Tian. These are all the prescriptions I have prepared myself. You can start refining them yourself and I will remind you at any time. Xiao Tian nodded and took out a pile of medicinal herbs. He first lowered the temperature before starting to refine. Even so, he failed 5 times before successfully extracting a medicinal herb. As he continued to practice, he began to become more proficient. With his soul strength, first-grade drugs naturally have no difficulty. In no time, Xiao Tian became a first-class alchemist. However, in order to become a second-level alchemist, simply refining medicine is not enough, and one also needs to reach the level of a fighting master with one's own strength. Of course, if the level of the alchemist does not increase, it does not mean that the alchemy will not improve. Just like how Xiao Yan became a second-grade alchemist not long ago, he was able to refine third- and fourth-grade pills. So, for the next period of time, besides being beaten, bathed, and practicing every day, Xiao Tian was also refining medicinal herbs. In just over a month, Xiao Tian's cultivation improved again, reaching the level of a 2-star fighter. End of this chapter. Chapter 9, Going to the World of Martial Arts Again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9, Going to the World of Martial Arts Again. Master, how much strength have you recovered now? One day, Xiao Tian asked. Yao Lao replied, the red liquid you provided is very effective. I can deal with Do Huang below 4 stars without any problem now. Xiao Tian chuckled and said, I plan to take you to a good place. Where is it? Yao Lao frowned, feeling that things were not simple. Xiao Tian bewitched and said, Master, I can be certain that there are medicinal herbs that can restore soul power in that place. Do you want to go? Go, of course I have to go. The old doctor immediately took a shortcut. He still doesn't know when he can be resurrected, so he naturally feels that the stronger the soul power, the better. Only in this way can his soul exist for a longer time. Since that's the case, then let's go. As Xiao Tian spoke, he took out the key and activated it. Buzz. In a twisted void, a large door appeared in the cave. Master, let's go. Xiao Tian said and walked in directly. Upon seeing this, Yao Lao closely followed suit. The two of them walked through the empty space and then crossed another door. Looking at the world behind the door, Yao Lao thought to himself, is it difficult? This is a small world. But isn't the Xiao world where the Xiao clan was originally located already shattered? Xiao Tian said, Master, let me borrow your strength. The next moment, Yao Lao disappeared directly, and an extremely powerful force appeared in Xiao Tian's body. With the blessing of this force, Xiao Tian unexpectedly floated up out of thin air. Feeling the sudden power appearing within his body, Xiao Tian felt an unprecedented sense of strength. Shua! With a flash of his figure, he was galloping towards the front. Hey! Ha! Suddenly, Xiao Tian heard a slight noise in the forest below and controlled his body to descend. Under the shade of trees on the ground, a big man was teaching a young man how to fight. Feeling the aura of an outsider, the big man couldn't help but look aside and immediately saw Xiao Tian floating out of thin air. The big man immediately stopped his movements and clasped his fists, saying, "Young generation Lin Xiao, I have seen you before. Young generation Lin Dong, have you met the senior? Lin Dong on the side is also learning in a certain way. This is Lin Dong's father and son." Xiao Tian glanced at the two of them and said, "Do you know where Tai Muzhuang is?" Lin Xiao nodded and replied, "I know. As a force in Qingyang town, he naturally knows where Tai Muzhuang is. The iron and wood produced there are like refined iron, fearless of water and fire, but extremely suitable for manufacturing weapons and buildings. Belonging to the forces of Qingyang town, the Lin family covets Tai Muzhuang, a fat and oily place. Is it possible that the other party is going to Tai Muzhuang and has any connection with the Lei family?" Thinking of this, Lin Zhao's heart suddenly sank. Xiao Tian said, "Since you know, then you can take me to Tai Muzhuang." "Yes." Lin Xiao dare not say much about this. After all, he can't afford to provoke strong opponents like him. Lin Xiao said to Lin Dong, "Dong heir, why don't you go back first? I'll go to Tai Muzhuang with this senior." "Got it, Dad." Lin Dong nodded obediently. "Let's go." Xiao Tian grabbed Lin Xiao with a big hand and took him into the air from afar, then left with him. Under the guidance of Lin Xiao, in just one stick of incense, they arrived at the area where Tai Muzhuang was located. "Senior, that's where Tai Muzhuang is located." Lin Xiao pointed to the vast estate in the distance and said. Xiao Tian nodded and vaguely saw some black giant trees towering deep in the manor. Xiao Tian controlled his body to descend and then took steps forward. "Stop here, this is Lei family manor. Without permission, you are not allowed to enter." As they approached, some guards appeared on the courtyard wall. One of the men sneered, "Oh, isn't this Lin Xiao, a useless member of the Lin family? What are you doing at my Lei family's ironwood villa? Renault, you." Upon hearing the other person's words, Lin Zhao's angry eyes were about to burst into flames. Xiao Tian ignored them and walked straight ahead. Seeing Xiao Tian continue to move forward, Renault's eyes flashed with a murderous intent and shouted loudly, "This person dares to break into the ironwood villa and kill him for me." Whoosh! 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 As soon as the words fell, arrows shot toward Xiao Tian. "I've seen it all, this is the Lei family's first move." Xiao Tian said a word and then waved his big sleeve. At the next moment, a wild and fierce energy suddenly shot out, causing the arrow in front to roll back directly. "Ah! Ah!" Immediately after, screams of agony echoed from the courtyard wall. On the wall of the courtyard, Renault angrily rebuked, "You're so brave, you dare to kill me from the Lei family." Noisy. Xiao Tian was like a big villain, sticking out his hand directly towards the front. Bang! The front courtyard wall collapsed with a loud bang, and Renault and the people next to him seemed to be suppressed by an invisible giant hand, directly turning into a mist of blood. Xiao Tian has no psychological burden to kill these people. After all, he was planning to take away the ironwood manor, so naturally he would become enemies with the Lei family. Moreover, the Lei family has a grudge against the Lin Dong family, and I can be considered as helping the Lin family myself. Lei's Renault offended this seat, and this ironwood villa belongs to this seat. Xiao Tian said, and his figure flashed to Lin Zhao's side. "Senior." Lin Xiao bowed slightly. Just now, when he saw the other party destroy two Tianyuan realm powerhouses with just one hand, such a presence was naturally not something their Lin family could provoke. "Go help me find a group of people, I need their help if I have something to do." Xiao Tian said slowly, "Don't worry, I won't treat them unfairly. When the time comes, I will treat these iron trees as compensation." "Yes, senior, I'll go right away." Lin Xiao quickly said that in his opinion, the Lin family could make a big profit this time. I'll help you get a horse. Xiao Tian looked into the distance, where the Lei family was riding away. Whoosh! Xiao Tian's figure flashed and he had already left the spot. After a moment, he flew back with a horse. Xiao Tian said, "You can ride this horse and go back quickly." "Yes, senior." Immediately, Lin Xiao mounted his horse and headed towards the Lin family. Watching Lin Xiao's figure disappear from afar, Xiao Tian stepped on the void and headed towards the interior of the ironwood villa. As Xiao Tian flew, he said to Yao Lao, "Master, can you expand your soul perception and sense where there is a tunnel leading underground below?" "Okay." Yao Lao responded with a sound, and immediately an invisible wave spread towards the ground below. "Huh." Yao Lao let out a sigh and said, "This place is so peculiar. There is actually a mineral vein formed by pure fire energy below the ground." Xiao Tian knew that what Yao Lao was talking about was the Yangyuan stone vein under Taima village. End of this chapter. Chapter 10, Great Improvement. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Great Improvement. Under the guidance of Yao Lao, Xiao Tian continued to delve deeper into the northern part of the forest. Finally, he stopped in a slightly sunken valley. He scanned the valley with his gaze and finally caught two black shadows at the bottom of the valley. That is a wild beast with two completely black heads, like a black panther. Their bodies are made of black refined iron, reflecting a metallic luster under the sunlight. Their two pairs of green animal pupils reveal a fierce and cunning color. Although Xiao Tian forgot what these two demon leopards were called, he remembered that they were two Tianyuan realm demon beasts. It is precisely because of their existence that the Lei family did not discover the Yangyuan stone vein. At this moment, Xiao Tian suddenly felt a slight fluctuation in the stone talisman on his body. Boom! Xiao Tian clenched his fist seal and punched downwards. In an instant, the ground was littered with rocks, revealing a pit. In that pit, there was a layer of light red rock, and around the pit, there were also scattered pieces of light red crystals that looked like gemstones, sparkling and shining. Ah! On the other side, feeling the powerful aura on Xiao Tian's body, the two demon leopards let out a whimper and ran away with their tails sandwiched between them. Xiao Tian controlled his body to descend, and as soon as he took a breath, he grabbed a pale red stone in his hand. This stone is light red all over, appearing somewhat transparent, like a crystal. The scorching temperature emanates from inside, as if holding a charcoal. This type of stone contains extremely rich fire attribute energy, and it is not as violent as the energy inside the Warcraft crystal core, which can be directly absorbed by people. Yao Lao didn't know when he floated out. He looked down at the Yangyuan stone vein below and was somewhat shocked, saying, "I didn't expect there to be such a strange thing in this world." Xiao Tian asked, "Master, do you think this can directly absorb the energy inside?" "Based on my speculation, it should be possible." Yao Lao nodded slightly. Upon hearing Yao Lao's words, Xiao Tian couldn't help but feel a sense of joy in his heart. He originally only came here to search for that demon flower, but now he has unexpectedly gained something. If this Yangyuan stone can really improve his cultivation, then his strength will definitely increase in a very short period of time. Thinking of this, Xiao Tian took out the stone talisman and placed the Yangyuan stone on it. Buzz! The stone talisman instantly emitted a wave, and then the sparkling crystal with a faint red luster dimmed. Bang! After all the light had disappeared, it turned into a handful of flying ash in the end. Seeing this, Xiao Tian took two more Yangyuan stones and placed them on top. When all three Yangyuan stones were absorbed by the stone talismans, suddenly beams of light shot out, interweaving and condensing into a fiery red pill the size of a thumb. What a unique treasure, it can be automatically purified. Yao Lao glanced at Xiao Tian and said, "You have a lot of secrets about yourself, kid." Xiao Tian smiled and casually said, "Hee hee, after all, our Xiao family used to be one of the 8 ancient tribes, and we had an existence like Emperor Dou. It's not surprising to have these. Now, let's try this Yang Yuan Dan. Xiao Tian sat cross-legged and swallowed the pill in his hand. Boom! As Yang Yuan Dan entered his body, a warm energy like a tide immediately spread rapidly through his body. This energy is extremely rich and pure, but without any sense of madness, it is very easy to absorb. When Xiao Tian was refining this energy, he felt like he was soaking in a hot spring, extremely comfortable. And his cultivation is also rapidly rising while absorbing and refining this energy. When the last energy was sucked into the Douqi Qi Xian by him, Xiao Tian unexpectedly rose directly to the level of a 3-star doja. Cool, it's so great. Xiao Tian jumped up with a happy expression on his face. With this Yang Yuan Dan, he believes that it won't be long before he can elevate himself to the level of a great master. Xiao Tian asked again, Master, have you sensed the passage to the underground? Relax, let me control your body. As Yao Lao spoke, he took over control of Xiao Tian's body. Then, it flew up and headed straight towards the ground after traveling hundreds of meters. Boom boom. After the battlefield was shaking and flying sand and stones were removed, he opened up a passage. The fire attribute energy below is very violent. As Yao Lao spoke, he immediately summoned the bone spirit cold fire, wrapped Xiao Tian's body, and controlled him to fly downwards. Below the passage is a narrow underground crack, which gradually widens as it enters and continues downwards, with a crimson hue visible. Below is a crimson fragmented rock zone that looks like magma, with a scorching heat rising that even distorts the air. Master, go there. Xiao Tian pointed to the massive beast bone below, which was several tens of zhang in size. Arriving at the forest white beast bone, Xiao Tian took control of his body and then took out a fiery red bead from the head of the beast bone. After collecting the beads, Xiao Tian looked ahead of the animal skeleton, where a crimson and enchanting flower was blooming on the rocks, shrouded in faint smoke. This flower is strange and can confuse the soul. Yao Lao reminded. Master, this is what I call a medicinal herb that can restore soul power. Xiao Tian said a word to Yao Lao and then threw the stone talisman directly at the flower. Buzz. When the stone talisman touched the flower, a terrifying suction burst out immediately. Under this suction, the enchanting flowers were directly uprooted and instantly turned into a sticky red liquid. Master, this half of the liquid belongs to you. Xiao Tian took the stone talisman back into his hand and divided out half of the viscous liquid to give to Yao Lao. Okay. Yao Lao nodded and directly wrapped half of the viscous liquid into his soul body. At this moment, Xiao Tian separated a small portion from the remaining half of the viscous liquid and swallowed it, while the rest was all swallowed by the stone talisman. Boom! At the moment when Xiao Tian swallowed the viscous liquid, he only felt a roar in his brain. He vaguely felt a powerful energy rushing through his body, entering his brain in a violent manner. Xiao Tian could feel that the soul power in his mind was rapidly merging with this energy. With continuous fusion, Xiao Tian's soul power was also rapidly increasing, but this process was extremely painful for him. Fortunately, he didn't absorb much energy, so he didn't cause any harm to him. After a short moment, Xiao Tian slowly opened his eyes, feeling that his soul power was unprecedentedly powerful. Ha ha ha. At this moment, Yao Lao also laughed heartily and said, Not bad, not bad. Now, my soul power has been restored to the level of Dozong. End of this chapter.